So is this the best budget PC that you could build right now here in 2026, or is it just a complete waste of money? That's what we're gonna be finding out today. This is a completely brand new PC, no used parts. So if you guys were to go get some used parts, you could build this for even cheaper. But this PC should be able to run any game at basically max settings at 1080p. It could also live stream while you game, and it could even do 1440p gaming, closer to just high settings, which I mean is still really good. So if you're trying to build a gaming PC for about $1,000 that could play video games at max settings at 1080p, live stream as well, and even play 1440p games, then this is gonna be the PC for you. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at all the parts that we picked out, and then we're gonna just quickly build this thing. I'll show a little time lapse of it, and then we'll start benchmarking it, playing some games on it, and seeing just how well it runs. All right, so we're gonna start on the left and work our way to the right, but we went with the RTX 5060, and I almost was able to get a 3-fan one for the same price by Gigabyte, but their sale ended 6 hours after I saw the listing. So we went with this Asus one instead. It's just a 2-fan, and it's still gonna look really nice with our white theme PC. To match the white theme, we have the Thermaltake View 170 TG RGB. I do plan on trying to hook up all of the RGB to the motherboard, so we'll see how that goes, but I think it's gonna look really clean. So to go with that white case and all the white theme parts, we have a white ARGB cooler. This is obviously like a budget cooler, but I think it'll look pretty nice and a little bit nicer than the stock black cooler that come with the Ryzen CPUs. We went super simple with storage. We just got a 1TB NVMe drive, so no cables, that'll be nice, and great speeds. We have the Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro RAM, and we have 2 8GB sticks equaling 16 gigs in total, and that's gonna be DDR4. All right, so for the processor, we have a Ryzen 5 5600. So it's kind of funny, we have a 5600 over here and then a 5060 over there. This processor is a little bit overkill, but the cool part about it is you guys could upgrade the graphics card to something like a 5060 Ti later down the road and have an even better PC. All right, so for the board, we have another Asus product. This is the B550MA Wi-Fi 2. It does have the Aura Sync, so we'll see how that works out. And hopefully we could connect all of our RGB products to the motherboard. So for the power supply, we got something pretty cheap here. It's just a 600 watt Thermaltake power supply. It's not modular and it's all black. So in order to kind of stick with the white theme, we're gonna be trying out these cable extenders. And so I should be able to hide the black parts of the cable on the back side of the case, and you guys should just see the white parts coming out. So it should basically look like a modular power supply, or at least a white one, and fit the overall theme of white. And for Windows, I did purchase that on G2A, so I got that for like 20 bucks, and that's basically like a fifth of the normal price, I think. So that definitely saved us some money on this build to keep it right around that $1,000 mark. All right, so now let's go ahead and build ourselves a PC. So the first thing that I like to do when building a PC is I use that plastic bag that the motherboard comes in as my base, and then I just try to put together as much stuff out of the case as possible. So I throw in the CPU, I also install the RAM, the NVMe. I also did forget to install the IO shield before screwing down the motherboard, so don't make that mistake. Like I was saying, I haven't built a PC in like 2 years, so definitely a little bit rusty. And something else that I messed up was not finding the cable combs in the package for our cable extenders. So I actually bought more cable combs just to find the original cable combs in the box. So I did go ahead and install that off camera, and that really cleaned up our spaghetti cable mess going on. But overall, it's pretty easy to install. All right, so about a day later, the PC is basically complete. I just have a couple more things that I'm gonna add to it, like a little Fortnite character for the person I'm selling this to, and maybe a different Wi-Fi antenna, but we'll see about that. But overall, I've been really impressed with this PC so far. I've actually already downloaded Fortnite, Warzone, Battlefield 6, and it's been running all the games just fine at 1440p, high settings. In a little, I'll show you guys some gameplay on the monitor, but for now, I did want to give you guys a closer look at the PC. So if you guys notice something here, we got really lucky that I did not buy that 3-fan GPU because it would have looked a little clunky, I think. I really do feel like the 2-fan worked out better. So I guess that was kind of a blessing in disguise. The 3-fan probably would have fit, but it definitely would have not looked quite as nice with the cables. I did use these cable combs for the first time ever, so hopefully I did that right. And if you guys have any suggestions, let me know in the comment section down below. But as you guys could see, even this cheap CPU cooler was able to hook up to the motherboard so that I could control the RGBs, and the lights match the built-in fans on the Thermaltake case perfectly. I did have to use 2 separate programs to control the lights because we have Corsair. So the Corsair is using the IQ, I believe is how you pronounce it. And then the Asus stuff is all using Armory Crate, which is not the best application. I've heard it's pretty clunky, but if you guys are just using it to control all the RGB, I guess that's fine. I did just notice that there's a little bit of glowing light in the bottom corner, but I don't think that it's actually RGB or controllable. And to be honest, the more I look at this graphics card, the more I like it. I do really like how chunky it looks, but it was a close fit, that's for sure. But so far, I'm not noticing any bad temperatures on the GPU. I have been taking a look at that because I have been worried about that space. But so far, no temperature problems. And I did even go ahead and use MSI Afterburner to boost this up a little bit. We also went into the BIOS and overclocked the CPU just a little bit. In total, we actually increased the performance of the PC by about 10% whenever we overclock those devices. And we also now have the RAM actually running at the correct speed. So definitely a nice case. Let's go ahead and take a look at the wire management and embarrass myself. All right, so here is the back of the PC. And because of those cable extenders, we do have a lot of extra wires, but for now I just kept it pretty simple. I did have a ton of space down there to put wires, so I put the wires in the hard drive slot and just try to loop up matching wires. It's definitely not the best, but it's not the worst, and it shuts easily and the cables don't just explode out. So at the very least, the front end looks really nice, and on the back, you could at least kind of see what's going on if you ever need to work on it. All right, guys, so we're gonna start off with Warzone. We're gonna be at 1440p. With quality, we're gonna be mostly at high ultra settings. We are gonna be using DLSS. Might as well, since we have that 5060. And I will show you guys some gameplay at 1080p as well. But right now, we are running right around 170 FPS on average, which is pretty impressive. VRAM usage right around 65%. Let's see what it turns into whenever we get on the ground here. All right, so we're dropping in, and it looks like the FPS and VRAM usage are staying right about the same, so that's good. Oops. I don't really know how to play this game, to be honest, so this is quite entertaining, but the gameplay does feel really smooth. It did dip down to like 145 FPS there, but overall not bad at all. Let's go ahead and switch to 1080p and see what it's like. All right, so we're at 1080p. I could definitely tell a difference here, but our FPS is getting closer to like 200, 220. But to be honest, I feel like the 1440p is probably going to be more ideal, unless if I was live streaming right now, then 1080p would probably be best for that scenario. And VRAM usage is still right around 66%, which is right on target. So let's go ahead and test out Battlefield 6. All right, so for Battlefield 6, we're going to start off with 1440p. We got VSync off. We are using DLSS again. We're also using future frame rendering. And then we're at mostly high settings right now for 1440p. Basically for the settings, I just focused on keeping the texture and shaders really high, and then I lowered some of the less important stuff. But right now we are running at 100 FPS. Our CPU's at about 80%. Our GPU's at right around 90%, so a little high. So if you guys were to live stream, you definitely need to be at 1080p for this game. But the overall gameplay feels really smooth. So no complaints there at all. Let's go ahead and see if we could find someone here. All right, so that's 1440p. While we respawn, let's go ahead and switch it to 1080p. All right, so right now we're getting anywhere between 110, 120 FPS. Not noticing a huge difference. And for now, I did keep the settings the same actually, just so you could see the increase of FPS. And then we'll go ahead and change some of the settings around for 1080p. But what I'm noticing the most is that the GPU usage has gone down to 70%, which is much more doable. So that's a good sign. This is probably going to be better at 1080p for Battlefield 6, especially if you guys are live streaming. Just for giggles, at 1080p, we just threw it on Ultra, and we're right around 58 FPS right now. So it's not quite running as well as I would like. So I think high might be better at 1080p actually. Let's go ahead and try this out. Playing at high settings right now feels much better. We're back to 110 FPS. And it actually looks a little bit more clear than the previous settings. So pretty happy with 1080p here right now. Let's go ahead and move over to some Fortnite. And we are running 1440p, frame rate unlimited. We are using DLSS once again. And right now we are running basically max settings on the game. And I'll wait till we get on the ground to give you guys a better benchmark. But right now we're floating from 115 FPS to all the way up to 170. So not too sure where we're actually going to end up here. Let's see if we could not get taken out immediately. All right, so now that we're on the ground, looks like 170, 180 FPS, and this is at 1440p. So at 1080p, we might get close to 200 FPS here. GPU usage right around 70%, so that's looking good. And then CPU usage right around 80. All right, so at 1080p, looked like we just hit 185. Let's see if we could get to 190 here. This game does seem to fluctuate a lot, but let's go somewhere a little less chaotic. Maybe go in a house here and see what we could get. But as soon as I dropped it down to 1080p, our GPU usage went down to 50%. So that's pretty good. All right, we just hit 199 FPS, 196. I don't know if we're gonna be able to hit 200, but we basically got there. We're within one frame. So there you guys have it. That is the $1,000 budget build PC that I came up with. I'll have all the parts listed down below as affiliate links. So if you guys purchase it, it's not going to cost you anything extra. It's just going to help me just a little bit. There's a lot of room for improvement with this PC. You guys could upgrade the RAM, storage, and definitely mess around with overclocking, especially if you guys get a better CPU cooler. But overall, I'm really happy with it. Runs basically every game that I like to play just fine. And the fact that you could live stream with this PC coming in at around $1,000 is just pretty cool to me. So anyways, that's it for the $1,000 budget build of 2026.